Well done, buddy.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Russ Miller.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, you have graced us with your presence on Drumeo, and I'm so thankful. We've talked about this for a while, all the time at NAMM and throughout with Mapex and all that. So I'm so glad you're actually here, buddy.
I am glad to be here. Thank you. And it was a long time. We kind of went back and forth on it. So
yeah. Well,
we beat the schedule into submission and got here and did it.
Absolutely. You know, we were talking about what to teach today. Russ, you had so many ideas. Like I said, we can have you in here as a residency for like a month and teach a new lesson every single day with you.
Well, yeah, thank you. I mean, it's over the years doing all the books and DVDs, you sort of build up a catalog of stuff to say.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway, I'm glad to be here. Look
cool.
forward to
And
it.
if you haven't seen Russ yet, obviously he's got some books, some DVDs. He's done lots of videos online too, but he's also recorded to so many great artists, and not only that, but TV shows, movies. Like, you're a working drummer, man.
Yeah, you know, it's been a lot. You know, I always tell everybody that I've had the opportunity to kind of do everything I ever wanted to do, you know, in little pieces. You know, I was a rock star for a minute when I was in the Psychedelic Furs, and you know, I've been a sideman with so many people, and then of course playing on American Idol and being on the house band TV show thing.
Yeah.
I mean, all that stuff. It's been really great. I mean, sometimes I wish I was just in Rush and, you know, it was like the same band for 40 some years, and then to see what would happen, you know, doing that. But it's been a lot of fun, and it's allowed me to play a lot of music.
Big time.
Yeah, and experience a lot of things. So
you're a very versatile drummer. For example, you mentioned you did the American Idol set for quite a while. You've recorded the Continuum TV show.
I have, yeah.
Along with a bunch of other shows.
Filmed
and
right here.
Filmed in Vancouver, too. You played with Nelly Furtado. You played with the Psychedelic Furs, Hilary Duff, Steve Perry, Andre Bocelli, Ray Charles, Tina Turner. Like, the list is massive. That's just scraping the surface.
Well, when the bills stop coming in, I'll stop doing all that stuff.
Yeah, and then you can move up to Canada and you can teach on Drumeo full time.
Okay, all
right. You've got so much. But anyway,
it's not a good job. That's a good job.
Yeah, it's not a bad gig. And I get the best part to listen to.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of cats.
I have.
Yeah.
But we got a lot of stuff to talk about, so I'm going to briefly introduce everything here, and then we'll get right into it. First off, a huge thanks to Mapex. Dave Lawrence is sitting back there, and the kit that you're playing on is really cool. It's brand new. I can't talk about it. I'm not allowed to.
Yeah, neither am I.
Neither are you. But there's some pretty cool things. Just take a look at it and decipher what you can from it. But it's going to be, more information's coming out in the end of the year.
Yeah.
But it sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's an incredible instrument. One of the best I've ever played, period, in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
It sounds great. I wish I could talk about it, but just you'll hear more about it soon. But thanks to Remo as well, Zildjian, Vic Firth, and all the cats. It makes it great, and when you guys help us out, and everyone wins. So
absolutely.
If you want to follow Russ online, please go to his website, russmiller.com. You can also find him on Facebook at official Russ Miller, and then Instagram, which is at RMI Sticks.
That's right.
At RMI Sticks. So make sure you follow him. Give him a like. Give him a shout out and all that kind of stuff. You always have new things coming out. And you're always working with some pretty cool artists and companies too, doing some cool stuff. So
yeah, I've been really involved in a lot of R&D over the years.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier. I don't know exactly how many, but it's like 75 or 80 products with a bunch of companies. A lot of stuff. I mean, some of them have my name on it, which is obvious, but some of them don't. You know.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know you were helped design the Yes system for Yamaha's original.
Back in the day, yeah.
That's crazy.
The vintage wood hoops and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a legend, man. You're a legend. And
old is the term you're looking for.
No, I'll call you legend. Becoming a musician, not just a drummer. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot too, and there seems to be this common thread. We get all these great instructors that come out, and we always teach a certain topic, but there's always this common thread about, I would call it the problem with modern drummers these days.
Okay. Yeah.
And when you came and you had this great idea, it felt right in line with that. So tell us a little bit briefly about what this topic means.
Well, you know, my friend Billy Sheehan and I, a while back, were talking about this, and you know, I feel like my generation of players, we grew up playing in bands a lot and playing music a lot. That's all we did. I mean, just 100,000 horrible gigs, good gigs, bar mitzvah and a cruise ship and a wedding and a house band and in somebody's backyard, and it was playing a lot of different music, and through my career, like you mentioned, you know, I've had the opportunity to play a lot of different styles and things. But there's a common element that runs through all of it, in my opinion, and that's the ability to execute music on a high level. You know, there's basic things like communication with other players, but there's also an understanding of what the components of playing music are all about. And some of those components not only are different than playing the drums, but some of them are even contrary to playing the drums. Like we were talking about with sustain and things that are difficult to execute on this instrument, you know. I mean, I always say that, you know, this is a 30-second note, this is a 16th note, it's a quarter note, it's a half note, it's a whole note, right? It's all the same the tap on our drums, and then we theoretically wait around for the right amount of time after that to play the next one, and that signifies what kind of note it is, right? But if you were playing another instrument, for instance, like say saxophone or something, you would be responsible to play that sustain. That changes your ear, and it changes your concept of what's happening in music. And I think what you're referring to, and what I've seen a lot, you know, in recent years, is a lot of guys not playing in ensembles, not playing with other people, playing by themselves, recording a lot at home, which is great, and it's an incredible opportunity to look at what you're doing and really hone in and focus on problems and things like that. But at the end of the day, you know, this is all about communication. This is communication. It's a language, and you have to learn how to communicate through ear. And you know, we always talk about music being a language, but I refer it very directly to being a language. Like, for instance, if you're speaking Italian or Spanish or something, you can never speak those languages if you don't hear it spoken to you. You can't just read it and sound Italian or sound Spanish, right? You have to hear it. So that's one really important thing, is listening to a lot of different music and spending time really listening to what the components of music are, because that is the language and the communication. So it's, I mean, the basic thing about that is guys will come up and say, oh, I want to learn how to play swing, you know, or jazz, and I'll go, great, what are you listening to? Well, I love Tool, and I love your, you know, and you go, look, I love Tool too. Danny's awesome, and the band's great, but, you know, you're listening to Spanish, trying to learn, you know, Portuguese. You know, and it's two different languages. You have to learn to listen to these things. So do you want to learn how to play swing just because you think it's cool or it's harder? Or do you just despise the music and don't even want to listen to it? You have to ask yourself those questions. But at the end of the day, my point is, we want to learn how to play music and not the drums. So we want to think about what we're doing in a form of language, communication, which basically boils down to vocabulary, right? You have to have enough things to say to have a conversation with somebody. It's the same thing here. And we want to do that in a way where we build facility, or we build assets that are musical and able to be used in a musical way, not just drumming assets, right? Because drumming assets can be very physical. Right, left, right, left, right. Fast double bass, fast chops, a lot of things here, you know, whatever's going on. That's all great, and I'm into that, and I love all of it, and I've certainly worked on a lot of it. But the point is, you still have to get those core fundamentals, right? If you can do all that stuff but can't play a really good feeling Brazilian samba or groove or something, then it's all for naught. It's, you know, no one wants to hear a drum solo besides another drummer, right?
Right.
No one in the band cares.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Most of the audience goes and gets a hot dog when there's a drum solo, you know. But anyway, so
cool. That's
what I want to talk about.
Awesome. So we got a great lesson planned. There's no sheet music because it's about becoming a musician. There's a cool play along. Make sure you download it. It's a rearrangement of a very popular Sting song, which you're going to be playing.
Yeah.
And you're also going to be playing a couple other tunes too that kind of reinforce this whole concept. So take it away, man.
Yeah. And we have the chart and play along for the song that I just played too.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
That's news to me. We'll work on that.
That's the Skin Tight tune.
Right.
Yeah, it's an arrangement of Skin Tight from the Ohio Players, but it's on. I have a solo band called Arrival, and we have 6 records with that band, and it's on the last album. That's
cool.
That's where that's from. Anyway, so you know what I wanted to show you. I'll give you a really good example of some things. Hearing the tonality or the timbre of something, meaning if it's high pitched, if it's low pitched, that's very simple, right? If I want to play something with a guitar or a trumpet, I can hit a splash cymbal, a snare drum, a hi-hat, something that articulates or exemplifies those sort of pitches, or a floor tom with a trombone, or a bass drum with a bass guitar, everybody knows. But it's a little bit deeper than that. It's about understanding two major points. One is sustain on the instrument, which we don't do, like I demonstrated earlier. You know, the instrument just doesn't naturally do for us. So we have to do one of two things: either learn how to play it, or learn how to hear it without playing it. And those are very important. So one of the ways that I demonstrate this is with the use of the brushes, okay? So this isn't necessarily a brush lesson, but we're going to use it for a demonstration. So for instance, if I play a, this is a whole note, or this is a quarter note. 1, 2, 3, right? Tap, wait, tap, wait, tap, wait. But with the brushes, I become responsible for the sustain. And I think that's the hardest part about these.
Right.
Yes, there's movements, and you got to learn how to, do these side swipes and all this. But at the end of the day, I think the most difficult part of the brushes for everybody is the fact that all of a sudden that quarter note becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So now I'm responsible to play that whole thing as if I was a horn player or a guitar player, right? So that does something in my brain. It allows me to hear the proper amount of that space between the notes. So what usually happens here, and you'll find yourself doing this, is you get very uncomfortable with the space, right?
Right.
So, and we, do this once. We'll do it. If you're at home, please do this with us. I'll give you a great example. We'll do it very quickly.
Okay.
So we're clapping our hands like this. Okay? That's easy.
Yep.
Okay? Now we break it down to do this. Still pretty easy, right? And we do this at quarter notes. There's a tiny bit now of insecurity in there.
There is.
Like, where is that coming in at?
I'm watching your hands.
Yeah, you're watching my hands. You could tap your foot, maybe it'll help you, right? But now we do this. Now there's a real, when is the next one about to happen? I think it's here. I think it's here,
Yeah.
right? And the more space there is, right?
Yeah.
Now turn around and not watch me.
Oh, I was off. Ah!
Right? I'm
was
tapping my foot and
uncomfortable.
subdivide it. Anyway, that's a great little demonstration of where you have to stop hitting and waiting, but you have to fill that space either physically with something like the brushes or conceptually in your brain. So one way to practice this is just to take the brush. You're just a brush owner. You're not a brush player. Okay, there's a lot of brush owners. All right, I was a brush owner
That's
for
me.
many years.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between a brush owner and a brush player. But what you can do is just play eighth notes. Put your click on, click, 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 click. And instead of playing click, 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 click like this, make the entire eighth note with the brush. Da, 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 right? There's a length to it. There's even a length to a 16th note. Da, 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 da. It's not tick, 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 tick. That's something that gets developed from drummers with this, all the metronomes. We hear it as tick, 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 but it really is da, 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 da. What happens is, when you start to hear it like that, da, 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 all of a sudden, your time gets so much better because you're not doing what we were doing earlier, which is hit, wait, I think it's here,
Stabbing
wait,
in the
I think
dark.
it's here, right. You're hearing that length happen, and it's filling that space for you, okay? So there's a couple different ways to work on that. Put on the metronome. Just work through some of those subdivisions with the brushes. Triplets, triplet, triplet, triplet. I'm doing like a back and forth alternating,
Sure.
but you don't have to do that. You can just go triplet, triplet, triplet. Just make the length. Triplet, triplet, da da dee da 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 dee da dee da 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 3, 1, 3. Full note. 1, right? You
Right.
can kind of hear the pulse in there. So what happens is you start to hear time go by with those spaces filled up. And you don't have the desire to fill them up with notes everywhere, right?
Right.
And that's where this sort of stuff comes in. When you go to play a groove, you know, who can play a groove like this anymore, where they just go... Everybody wants to go... And you're filling those subdivisions in to make yourself more comfortable. Yes, it does create a little motion, and that's important from time to time, but sometimes that motion is not necessary. You know,
Right.
if you, like, say you're playing an old blues tune, then 1, 2, 3. Not. It's okay to not have that galloping space filled in something like that. Anyway, this is the part of the lesson. So subdivisions, learning the lengths, doing that. The next step is to immerse yourself even farther into the composition by listening to key components of what's happening around you. I think one of the biggest problems with drummers nowadays is they have this concept of the band's going to play the song and I'll play the beat for them.
Right.
Right? So I'll play the beat, I'll
Perfect,
play the time, they'll play the song.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on in the harmony. I don't know what's going on in the melody. I'm not even sure what's going on in the lyrics. Sometimes I don't even know. I know guys that don't even know the lyrics to the songs. They've been in the band for 10 years. You know, oh, I don't listen to the lyrics. You know.
Totally, yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, you mentioned some of the singers that I played with, but one of the things that I do, and I learned it from Steve Gadd years ago, when I track something with a vocalist, I only have, like, let's say there's a click, I only have the click and the lead voice in my cans, you know, and maybe some piano. Because every single thing that I play, I want to work with that vocal, right? The paramount thing is that they're telling a story and I can't do anything to interfere with that. So if I play a groove or a fill that makes it difficult, harder for them to sing rhythmically, I'm failing. If I play something exciting when he's lyrically saying something depressing, you know, then that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
You know, am I cognizant of those kind of things? But let me give you a really quick example. This is a great way to learn about articulation and learn how to sink yourself into a tune a little deeper. Again, we'll use the brushes. You know, take some basic jazz standard songs, like let's say Beyond the Sea. You know, Beyond the Sea is a classic. And you know, if you don't know that, it's the end credits in Finding Nemo. You can listen to it there. But Beyond the Sea is like a jazz standard. Okay, and what you're going to do is just take that melody, and I just want you to take the brushes. Again, you're a brush owner, not a brush player. It doesn't matter. You're going to just play that melody in its entirety, just the vocal part.
Okay.
So I'll just sing the melody. A 1, 2. It goes like this. A 1, 2, 3. Boom, ba, ba-da, ooh, ba. Now you see I'm playing short notes. Ba, 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 ba-doo, ba, long note. Ba, ba-doo, ba, 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 short, short, long. Ba, ba-doo, ba, 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 ba. Okay.
Cool, yeah.
So now you can do that with anything. You can play it, you know, for Tom Sawyer, you know.
Yeah.
Today's Tom Sawyer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can do it with anything. Just take some songs that you know the lyric to and the melody and just play the melody. Now, there's a couple reasons we're doing that.
Okay.
One, I want you to know what the rhythms for the melody is. I want you to know what the articulation is, meaning where's the short and where's the long notes. I want you to hear where the dynamics are, where's the bigger notes and the smaller notes, you know. And that's a great exercise to just work through things like that, just using the brushes, okay?
Right. Yeah.
And then the next step, really quickly, because we don't have a lot of time, but I'll give you a great example how to just move that into the next part. So we take those two components of knowing the composition and being involved in the composition and being the drummer. who keeps time and helps support the ensemble. Now we combine those together. So we're not just the drummer, and we certainly can't just be, playing the melody. Somebody's already doing that.
Yeah.
We have to put them together. So let's take a basic, like Beyond the Sea, that's a basic little swing beat. So here's the swing beat in brushes, and we won't get into all that for now. It's a whole nother lesson, but, okay. It's basically quarter notes with a little skip on it. Okay, there's my time. Now, here's my drummer part. Now I'm going to go and play the composition with the band. 1, 2. Now what I'm going to do is, when there's a long note, I can either play that with the band, or I can go back to playing time again. But all the rest of the time, I'm just going to play the melody. Okay? So I'm playing the melody just like I was, and when there's a long note, sometimes I play the time, sometimes I can play the note. And I can do that however I want. 1, 2, beyond the sea. Ba-do-ba, play the time. Ba-do-boo-ba, play the note. Boo-ba, ba-ba-do, play the time. Ba-ba-doo-ba, ba-doo, play the time.
Yeah.
Play the melody. Ba-do, play the long note.
Beautiful.
All right.
Yeah, I see where you're getting at.
So you see what's happening there is this is with brushes and it's with a jazz song, but this can translate to everything that you're doing on the drums. Where do you articulate the melody? Do you know if it's short? Do you know if it's long? Do you know if it's high? Do you know if it's low? And how do you get those sounds out of the drums and then support the band like you're supposed to, but be involved in the composition?
Right.
And that's sort of the approach to it.
That's the musician side of it. Whereas before you said, I'm just going to play time to this song. You also talked about chops. A lot of times drummers will learn a certain beat and they'll try it instead of instead of creating something for the song, they'll find a place to put that chop that they learned.
Well, that's the problem with learning a specific fill or a specific chop, is that you put that in your grab bag, and then you're playing a song, and then, here comes a fill, and you go, okay, let me search through my grab bag. Well, I got this Picaro one, that was pretty cool. Well, I saw Weckl do that. Oh, Thomas Lang did that. And then you and you insert it right up the rear end of the song, like at no cost to anyone. It's just, I know this fill, you're going to hear it.
Yeah.
I learned it all week, you're going to hear it all week, or whatever.
I'm a great drummer, check this out.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times where, I see guys do that, and you go, what? You know what, here's the thing. It was an amazing fill, and it's really cool physically and all of those things, but because of the failure in maturity and the failure for the language and the vocabulary and the communication, what we were trying to do, it becomes worthless. That's the problem. So there's nothing wrong with having those things. I love having facility on the instrument and being able to have an unlimited vocabulary of things, but you just have to do it in the right way. And during the courses, I think we're going to discuss developing what I call an open-ended vocabulary or open-ended facility. So it's the ability to play all those things that you want to play, all those amazing gospel chops or any of that stuff, but breaking it down in a way where it becomes open-ended and able to be used with the music's cue and not with this particular lick.
Yeah.
You have to figure out what that lick comprises and then build a system to utilize it musically rather than just go, here's that lick.
I love it. We're going to be teaching that on a course inside of Drumeo, which is going to be really cool. In fact, we were tossed up, like, which one do we do, that one for the live lesson or this one?
Right.
But I think we chose the right approach here.
I hope so.
Do you want to play the song that we're offering as a download for all you guys watching the lesson here, and so we can get an idea of what you mean, and then tell the listeners what they should be listening to and what they should be focusing on as they see you play this.
Well, we discussed playing another piece from one of the Arrival albums, which is called it's called Fields of Gold because it's a Sting song, but it's a complete rearrangement of the song. So I chose that one because it has the brush thing, and we were talking about it a little bit. But what you're going to hear in there is how the brushes play a nice 16th note medium tempo time. What's difficult about this piece is first the tempo. Nothing in that tempo range from 75 to 90 is easy.
Yeah.
You know, and anything that you want to learn how to play effectively and well, you do at slow tempos. You know,
Yeah.
anybody can play fast.
Yeah.
You know, eventually.
Yeah.
When you say, you know, I can run a 20-mile marathon right now if I start by 50 feet a day.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to take me a while, but I will be able to do it.
You'll get
right?
through it.
But, you know, playing in those slow to slow medium tempos, those are really difficult because there's just enough space to cause problems. You know, you can't quite fill it up. You know.
So you're listening for the long note. You're feeling the long notes.
I want to feel the long notes. Watch what I do in the melody. Listen to you guys. Probably everybody knows this song. It's a very popular song, so we thought we'd choose it. I play the actual notes that he's singing and the actual melody, and then play the time. And then there's moments where I go to a beat maker or a groove maker role, right? It's somebody's playing a piano solo, but still you'll hear me react in that way. And the key component is this is a 16th note feel at this tempo, and I have to have a really good reason to play something besides 16th notes.
I love that.
You know what I mean?
That's so right.
You know, give me a reason to play a triplet and jack this feel up. Like, I got to have a really good reason. You know, maybe there is one coming. I don't know.
Right.
But at the end of the day, my job is to get these 16th notes up on the train tracks and keep it moving. So
cool.
Let's check that out.
Let's do it.
Okay.
And while he's looking for that, guys, make sure you download the song, give it a try yourself. And this is why we chose the song. It's a nice slow tempo, and it's a great way to practice all these concepts.
Yep. Okay.
You'll remember me when the west wind moves upon the fields of barley. You'll forget the sun in his jealous sky as we walk in the fields of gold. So she took her love for to gaze a while upon the fields of barley. In his arms she fell as her hair came down among the fields of gold. Will you stay with me? Will you be my love among the fields of barley? We'll forget the sun in his jealous sky as we lie in the fields of gold. See the west wind move like a lover's soul upon the fields of barley. Feel her body rise when you kiss her mouth among the fields of gold. I never made promises lightly. There've been some I have broken, but I swear in the days still left, we will walk in the fields of gold. We will walk in the fields of gold. We will walk in the fields of gold. Many years have passed since those summer days among the fields of barley. See the children run as the sun goes down among the fields of gold. You'll remember
Very well played.
Thank you.
There's a lot of space in that song.
There's a lot of space, and I'm hearing it, ba, boom, ba. Right? And you can hear in the melody, right? You can hear exactly what I was talking about in the Beyond the Sea thing. And I mean, I think once you start to recognize that those things are happening, you're going to hear that in music you've been listening to, because I think great music encompasses that. I think people really do it naturally.
Yeah.
I mean, you were talking about Neil Peart earlier. I said, I think one of the reasons that he orchestrated such great drum parts was he was very cognizant of what was about to happen lyrically, because he wrote the lyrics.
Right.
So he knows what they're trying to portray in this song. So what he chooses to do in those parts works with that story. And that's really important that you're aware of that. I mean, bad music it's hard to do it, but great music, it's easier to do it, but you need to do it all the time the best that you can.
Right.
I mean,
show us a more a pop example. You have another tune that you brought to show us here, and it's the same kind of concept, but it's with a different song, different approach.
Yeah, and the other thing is, there's two things. One, you can hear that there's a really wide dynamic contrast in what I'm trying to do. And understand that dynamics are not loud and soft. Dynamics are the contrast between loud and soft, right? Because your soft and my soft could be different, right? I could do it here and this could be yours, right?
Yeah.
Or it's the contrast that's the most important. What you don't want to do is go, check this out, it's really quiet. And then this one's really medium. And then this one's really loud, right?
Yeah.
That's not it. This is soft, medium, and loud. There's contrast. And I think one of the things that's most important, my friend Corky Siegel, who's a great harmonica player, wrote an amazing book about dynamics. And one of the first things that he said in the book that really struck me was, do you even know what your dynamic range is? Do you know what your soft is or what your loud is, and how to stab it out? Like, I want a mezzo forte, I want a piano, I want forte, where is that?
Right.
In your playing, where is that stick height? What's going on, with that? And what is that range that you're using? So for me, I try to make the range as much as possible, because it's very listenable and it's very communicative when there's a lot of dynamics, And I'll give you a great example of that. I'm doing this really quick and then we'll move on with the song. But, here's a great example of that. Just take one fill that you know. It could be the worst fill that you know. Like, like the worst 5th grade drum fill ever.
Yeah.
But you go like this. Okay, here's that fill, 3, 4. What's horrible about that? It's in time. It's voiced okay. But what's horrible is there's no dynamic contrast. So it's not very listenable.
Yeah.
So if I just take that fill, which is hand-to-hand 16th notes, and I move accents through different positions, I can literally create 1,000 drum fills out of that horrible 5th grade stage band fill.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's just accent the first one. Right? Maybe 2 of them. And the second one. I can sit here and move accents around all day, but all of a sudden, when I'm playing that, now it doesn't sound so horrible
Totally
anymore.
different film. Yeah, big
Right,
time.
right. So there's a great example of step 1, know your dynamic range. think about what is soft and what is loud and what certain components need to be those things to communicate what you're trying to say. And never, ever, ever play anything that doesn't have some dynamic arc. Because there's our, remember this thing? It never sounds good when there's no dynamic arc in it.
Right.
It just doesn't. I don't care if it's super Mr. Incredible fast.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound good.
It's got to have some life in it.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we forget about, and Adam Nussbaum told me this one time, you know, what's the first thing you hear when you play an instrument? You know, it's sound. Like, I want to hear something sound good. 13 against 9, it doesn't sound good. It's cool. It's very difficult to play. I get it. I love working on that stuff. And when I play the Indian gig that we do, we play stuff like that. But it's got to be purposeful. And at the end of the day, most of it doesn't really sound very good.
Yeah.
You know, and
Even
that's
in
the key.
context sometimes.
Yeah,
it
even
doesn't
in context.
sound
I say
good.
sometimes, you know, drummers learn that stuff and then they write music to that so they can play it. You know
Just
what I
like, check
mean?
this out.
And I said it kind of all ends up sounding like R2D2 solo record. You know?
I love
It's
it.
a lot of beeps and clicks and
Yeah.
whatnot. But, you know, get dynamics, get that range, soft and loud in everything that you do. Every single thing that you work on, double bass stuff, anything, where is the big and the small parts? That's the first thing. The second thing is we got to gain control of those sustain values. So I'm thinking about that, and we took a tune, like we were talking about one of the hit songs I played, so we took one of those tunes from Nelly. That was a big hit song. So in that song, the producers came to me, and I've told this story several times, but they came to me with this demo of this drum machine going boom, bop, ba-boom, bop, ba-boom, really for the whole song.
Yeah.
And went, okay, we want you to play that beat, make it feel better, but we need the chorus to really explode and be big, but we kind of really love that beat, so don't play anything different. But if you can make it really much, you know, bigger in the chorus and explode, that would be great.
Sure. Okay.
You know, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, well, other than throw a hand grenade at the council, I don't know how I'm going to explode this chorus anymore by not playing anything different. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I use some of these tools that we're talking about. In the verse, what I did is I took the groove, boom, bat, boom, which is 16th notes, and I turned it into 16th note triplets. All right,
For the chorus.
in the verse.
Or in the verse.
So what that does is it puts less space between the note, right? Because a 16th note is here, a 16th note triplet's a little closer together, right? So that adds a little bit of urgency to it, right? It puts a little bit on top and a little bit of urgency to it. So now, rather than this, it's right. You can.
Yeah.
I'm playing the same eighth note thing here
Yeah.
because remember, eighth notes is the first and fourth note of a group of 16th note triplets.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just eighth notes, right? So when I close that up a little bit, now there's like this little sense of urgency in there.
Yeah.
When I release that, now there's a feeling of release because I went back to the 16th notes again.
So the chorus, you go into 16.
Right, I go to 16th notes, and then the other thing I do is I lay it back a tiny bit with longer sustain. So here's my short sustain. Right, I'm hearing it like that. In the chorus, I'm hearing it. I'm hearing that bigger, longer
Right.
sustain.
Right.
So the combination of playing that a little bit bigger and it lays back in time a little bit when you have all that length on there, you know, and that change of feel, I added one more bass drum note and it opens up and turns into a whole nother thing. So
And that song went on to sell millions.
9 million, yeah,
That's
a lot.
insane,
It's
yeah.
a huge amount, yeah.
And it's really cool hearing the direction that you were given by a producer of such a huge song, and then how you interpreted that and articulated it on the kit.
Yeah.
And with just that slight little change, everything changed. Everything blew up for the chorus.
It did, and the lucky part was it wasn't a huge song when we did it. It was it was just a new song that nobody knew was going to do anything, of course. So
yeah.
I felt confident enough to mess around with it.
Yeah.
It's a little bit easier sometimes when you don't know it's going to be a big hit, than when it is a big hit, and then you go, oh no. Like the second album, everybody's a little bit more nervous, like, oh yeah, we sold 9 million, and what are we going to do?
We got to make that
or whatever.
Sell more.
So anyway, let's do that.
Let's hear it. This is a Nelly Furtado song called "I'm Like a Bird," and hope you enjoy it.
It's from a record called Whoa Nelly back in the mid to early 2000s, I think.
Very cool.
Okay.
You're beautiful, and that's for sure. You'll never, ever fade. You're lovely, but it's not for sure. I won't ever change. And though my love is great, and though my love is true, to tears, even after all these years, and it pains me so much to tell that you don't know me that way, and though my love is great, and though my love is true,
Thank you.
That was great, yeah.
It sounds simple, Like if you hear it on the radio, you
It's
just
not.
think
Well,
it's not simple.
It's such a subtle movement from 16th notes to 16th note triplets, but the fact that that creates, people always ask, how do you build that tension, or how do you, push and pull and create feeling on the drums, and it's subtle little differences like that.
It is, and you know what? I think the most important thing about this is just opening your ears up to listen for those things. That you hear those things going by, and all of a sudden playing a basic rock beat doesn't sound so basic anymore.
No doubt.
The notes are basic, but when you implement all those other things, where's your dynamics? What's supposed to be accented? Where's the length of the notes? Where's the high notes, the low notes, the timbre of things? Where are you positioning that in time based upon how you're hearing that sustain? Can you do it consistently? And all of a sudden it starts to narrow down who can do these things,
There's a reason why there's a couple huge cats that keep getting the calls, and that are doing all these, you talk to these drummers that come out on Drumeo and they're playing for so many different artists. It's like, well, save some for the other drummers. But there's a reason why they get called all the time.
Well, the components that they work on for their toolkit are the ones that help execute music, right? And so the lesson is, there's a great drummer, and then there's a great musician who plays the drums. And that's key, because if you want to play with other musicians and play a lot of different music or play music at all, you have to learn to get the stuff in your toolkit that work with that particular language, right? Because the language of drumming is different.
Totally, and like you said too, you're not harping on the practice for facility.
Oh no, we need that.
You need that,
Yeah.
but it's just that missing link, that gap that a lot of drummers have these days. And you mentioned a good point. Like nowadays we're all YouTube drummers. We're focusing on basement, playing our songs on our electronic kit or to our play-alongs, and we're not branching out and playing. I'm not saying that to everyone, but I'm just seeing it a lot myself. You're not going out and playing shows all the time, and the shows, a lot of shows have dried up. I mean, there's a lot of reasons behind that.
There's a lot of reasons, yeah. But someone will play the shows, so it might as well be you.
Might as well be you. Exactly.
Someone will do this, and the electronic drums are a good point. They're hard because the dynamic range of those is so much smaller. So you have to just understand that if you're playing an electronic instrument, movement and the understanding of time, positioning, and sustain, and those can all be done, but the dynamic range can't really be done. And then the articulation and nuance of things that's happening, certainly brushes can't happen, but I mean, you can see like the rim shot versus the center of the drum versus, the edge of the ride up into here. And, this ride cymbal has 100 different sounds on it, not 3.
Yeah.
Like the company goes, no, there's 3. There's an edge and a center and a crown. It's like, no, there's not.
Yeah,
there's 97 more
Exactly.
in there that I can get out of it. So,
well, tons of great information. And we're not even done. We got a couple more things to do here, but I just wanted to thank you for coming out again.
my pleasure. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and watch this lesson again, everyone, and just listen to what's going through Russ's head when he's creating these parts and how he's drumming and why he is such a musical drummer. I mean, you guys can get there too, and it's those little nuances that sometimes you don't think about.
It's true. It's true. But we do need to have 6th gear, though.
Yeah,
I like having 6th gear. I'm not one of those guys that goes, oh, just you don't need chops at all, and you just got to play.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean, you need to have something to say on the instrument, in my opinion. Like, there has to be a reason to hire you.
Totally.
I want your opinion musically, but I also want you to add something and do something.
Totally.
And you just gotta do it in a way that makes sense. Again, I think the grab bag way is probably the wrong way. Just to say, oh, I'm going to play 5s here or 7s here, and then you're just looking for a place to put that. Versus looking at some things. And we're going to talk about how to develop that, I think, in the other course stuff that we're going to shoot too.
Absolutely. So if you guys want to check more of that out, come to drumeo.com and sign up with us. You get a free trial at drumeo.com/trial. And you can see more of Russ. There's going to be some great videos that we're going to be filming with him tomorrow. And again, huge thanks to Mapex, Dave Lawrence. I think he's back there somewhere. Thanks so much for showing this kit to us and letting us hear it. You'll hear more about all that later. But before we wrap up, set us up with this last tune you're going to play for us and how this works in a completely different genre.
Yeah. Well, I thought it would be interesting to play something that's completely different than what we were talking about. Those were 16th bass or maybe 16th note triplet. So let's do something triplet bass. We'll take like a big band piece, or big band arrangement. So there's a Yellow Jackets arrangement that I play a bunch, and in this, you're way up tempo. All right, so the distance between the notes for the timekeeping, that's not so much of a. Now we're just trying to keep it at that tempo, right? Now we've crossed over from it's really hard to keep it this slow to like it's really hard to keep it this fast.
Yeah.
But I hear these tempos in bigger pieces. So instead of hearing 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, I hear 1 2 3 4 1 2. Okay, that's how I hear it, and then hopefully my body executes it. But you're going to hear the same thing. You'll hear how I always switch cymbals here with this kind of stuff because, I'll go to a sizzle cymbal for an instrument like the trombone solo or something that'll fill a little bit of high-end space with the sizzles while there's a low instrument soloing. It changes the mood a little bit to have sizzles in the cymbal. For the trumpets, I stay on this cymbal and keep the high clarity there to support those things. I'm playing the hits with the band, and then of course with this style and with all styles, really, you have a choice of do I hit the rhythm that the band is playing, or do I set up the rhythm, filling the space leading into that rhythm that the band is playing.
Yeah.
To help them understand, because think about it. A lot of people don't realize this. You think about a sax player sitting there waiting to hit a note on beat 2, 3 bars later. He's just kind of sitting there like this, going, and then he's got to go boop. So anything you can do to help set him up, get up, boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
Okay, he loves you for that,
Totally,
because he's going, oh, thank you, I appreciate that, because what he doesn't want to hear is go blah 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 boop.
Yeah.
He doesn't want that.
I never thought of it that way.
Well, he doesn't want to hear all that stuff because it's making his job harder.
Right.
So, you have to think about what you're playing during the setup. And then here's the other thing about this piece. There's a moment in there where we trade 8s at this tempo. It's kind of like trading forwards, meaning the band plays 8, and then I play 8, and the band plays 8. But then there's a section where I play a whole chorus, meaning the whole form of the song. So one deeper level of this, and the next thing to work on, we were talking about learning the melody and playing the melody, but the next thing is learning the form of the song by knowing how many bars is the A section, how many bars is the B section. Is the A played twice, like A, B, and then A again? That's a standard jazz form. Mm-hmm. How many bars does that equal? Because if I say to you, okay, Dave, take 2 choruses, you have to be able to play that in time, knowing where you're at in the piece. And everything you play should be articulating or telling a story about the A section. Right? And then when it goes to the B section, something should change because now this is a story about the B section. Mm-hmm. And so there's where we're talking about thinking deeper about the music. One more step. Where am I in this overall composition? Am I doing something that is derivative of that particular section of the song? So what we don't want to do is go, here's the drum solo, and the drum solo has no relevance to anything that happened previous to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the problem. And a lot of times you'll hear that on bands where, you'll hear a jazz band play or something, and then there's a beautiful sax solo, and it's all working, and then here comes the drums, and it's louder, like way louder than the song, right? Way more bombastic, and you go, well, man, the band was here. Why was your solo here? Mm-hmm. It could get there, but what made it do that besides your inability to play quiet?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those are things to think about as well. I recommend working on all exercises at between 75 and 90 BPM and between mezzo piano and mezzo forte. Mm-hmm. If you can play something at mid to low tempos and mid to low volumes, you can play it. And that means fast double bass stuff. You can't just play that stuff only loud. Yeah. Or it's only usable in that one situation. So
well, the hardest thing, even on the simplest grooves that we have to teach, is 60 BPM.
Yeah,
that's when we always mess up.
Absolutely, and I keep track. I have a little lesson book. I keep track of when I'm working on stuff every single day. I have it in my bag. I mark down, okay, I'm working on this. It's these tempos, but I always start in those tempos and get through that first, and then try to speed it up.
Great tip. Great tip.
Yeah. Anyway, so you can play this piece.
Thank you. Show us this piece. This is a song. What's the song called?
It's called Run for Your Life.
Run for Your Life. Again, thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you got a lot out of this. You might have to watch it 2 or 3 times. There's so many great little tidbits in there. Russ, you are a professional through and through, man. Not only are you are very articulate on the kit, but you're very articulate in how you teach things. Your demonstrations are spot on, and I was just enthralled the whole lesson. So
Oh my goodness, thank you.
thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome, man. It's an
Absolutely.
incredible facility and staff. So
Thank you.
it's golden.
Thank you. Yeah, well, you're always welcome here. And like I said, if you're ever bored, you can come over here for a month and we can teach you lessons every single day because you have
Okay.
a wealth of knowledge.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Check Russ Miller out on his website, russmiller.com, at official Russ Miller on Facebook, and RMI Sticks
That's right.
on Instagram. Enjoy the
Awesome.
song.
Thank you.